After the midweek matches, Manchester City's lead at the top of the Premier League table looks likely to be decisive. Pep Guardiola's men are now 14 points clear and closing in on the title.
Manchester United are still in second, but after goalless draws in their last two games, the priority for them is surely now making sure they finish in the Champions League places. Let's get managerial thoughts ahead of the derby.
It's important, this game. It is like it was the previous one, like it was the previous one, and it was the previous one. So, and will be the next one. So, one's a time. So, just focus not on how many points we have. I know how difficult is United, and we experienced that. And last years, I had the feeling that every season is better team that there was the previous season. It's a team like a part of the quality. So more than 1 year, not losing one game away. So always they got a good result here in Etihad Stadium, but in the same time we know the opportunity that we have to maintain, to try to increase the distance, and yeah, will be one game left, and but like today we spoke and we're training, it's just what do you have to do to beat them on the pitch and the way we want to play.
Our focus is just on this one game and not where we're going to end up. We just have to be the best possible Man United, end up, try to improve on last season, of course. That means moving up the table, getting more points, hopefully challenge or get to a final and win a trophy. What other teams do, we can't control. So we've just got to keep at it ourselves, challenge ourselves. And of course, at the moment, they're ahead of us by a fair distance. So Sunday's a chance to test ourselves against a very good team.
It should be a brilliant match on Sunday. We've got Manchester City represented in the studio with Jolien. So let's get Man United represented now with their former defender, Wes Brown. Wes, great to have you on the show with us. Thanks for joining us. Look, I want to know what the difference is between preparing for any other match in the Premier League at the weekend to the preparations for a Manchester derby.
Yeah, well, for me, it's being a local lad. The derby was very special. The fans, I've got a lot of Man City friends who are fans as well. So for me, it's a little bit mixed being local. But the game's a massive game, and especially with both teams being in number 1 and number 2 now in the league, it makes it a lot more better. And it's a game where Man United fans hope we get a result. Everybody's catching Man City, and Man City will want to prove that, no matter which team come to the Etihad, they're not going to let this record go.
Wes, I love the fact that you're sitting on a Wes Brown sofa.
hey, do you know what the funny, Robert? I tell you quickly, my missus brought this bag down and I've got about 20 of them there, so I apologise. I was just sorting them out, so yeah, I thought I'd put them on.
You just showed us the mess to your right-hand side as well, Wes.
Yeah, sorry.
Look, it's going to be a brilliant match, but facing this Manchester City side, in the form they're in right now, they look unstoppable. Does that give this Man United team even more reason to want to win this game?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, City, we all know City are looking unbelievable. The way they keep the ball, they pass the ball around, they isolate players, and then they get the wide players on one-on-one positions. You've also got De Bruyne in there who can throw in any sort type of cross at any point or through ball. So it is a challenge, and it's good for the Man United players to see if they can step up and see if they can compete with them, because at the moment, this is the team that everyone's chasing.
Wes, Manchester United have been really good at upsetting City, haven't they, over the last season or two? I mean, is this a game built for Solskjaer in a way? Because he's a coach who United almost look best when they're soaking up and ready to counter-attack with that pace they have in the break.
Yeah, they have done. The last couple of games they've managed to get something from there. So with the players that we do have, Ollie will understand that City will have a lot of the ball, and one of the things to get at them will be counter-attack, and he'll try and use that to the advantage, and I'm sure the players will know that as well.
Wes, looking at the stats this season, 4 of the top 5 players in the Premier, the most minutes played, 4 are Manchester United players. You know, as a player, I was speaking to Jordan about it, you just want to play, but Fernandes looks a bit tired. You know, Wan-Bissaka, Harry Maguire and Rashford, they're top 4 of the 5. Do you think that rotation, Ole hasn't rotated as much as he should have? You look at Real Sociedad, they were 4-0 up. You know, Fernandes played. Do you think tired? They look a little bit tired.
Yeah, I think the last few games they have done. But then it's just, you know, you've got your squad, but if Ole feels like the best option is still like your Brunos, your Harry Maguires, and you've got to stick to it. Obviously, like, you know, the manager probably speaks to the players and asks how they're feeling, and knowing them two players especially and their character, they will want to play every game. But, you know, City don't have that problem. I think Pep has done excellent the way he's rotated and the players he's also brought in as well.
Wes, how much pressure do you think there will be on Dean Henderson in this game? Because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has confirmed that David De Gea will be missing for the derby because his wife has had a baby. So congratulations to them. But for Dean Henderson, it's a huge opportunity. How much do you think he will cope with the pressure of it?
Well, I hope he does. I hope he does well. I mean, this is a chance for him now to step up. They're playing the best team in the Premier League. And he wants to be number 1. You know, he maybe have an opportunity now to have a few games consistently, and he'll want to play well.
Yeah, Jolien, how much of a difference does that make as a defender then, changing the goalkeeper for a game like this? Or do you think Dean Henderson has actually bedded himself in quite well at United this season?
I don't think he's made any errors. So I don't think any defenders will be nervous playing in front of him. The only aspect, and Wes will know better than me, is the emotional side of it. Being a United fan, playing in a derby game under this magnitude, maybe affect him a little bit, but in regards to his quality, I don't think any defenders will be scared or nervous. Yeah.
Wes, before we let you go, let's get a prediction for you from this one. Which way can you see this one going, and what's the key to United getting a result?
Look, I love that. Everyone's laughing. The key is, you know, they've got to stay focused at any point. I think everyone knows if you lose any concentration against Manchester City, you get punished. I hope that can happen, and I'm going to stick up for the red side, and I'm going to go 1-0. But it's going to be very tight, and I'm probably going to be wrong.
I love your honesty, Wes. Thank you so much for joining us. That's the Man United perspective on things. So let's now focus on the leaders of the Premier League, Manchester City, Jolien. Look, this is the sort of game where if there was ever going to be a point where they drop points, Manchester United are going to be so desperate to be the team to do that. Do you think they've got a chance?
They have a chance because it's a derby. Recent form and results suggest they can go there and win. I think it was a couple of seasons ago when it was around this time when City win that game, they win the league. It's confirmation. So obviously that may play in the mind of the players, but this is probably the only fixture I've seen Pep early in the season tweak the style a little bit. I think there was a lot of respect shown by both teams at Old Trafford. So they're in both obviously different scenarios now, levels of confidence. So I'm sure it's going to be exciting. But the fact that Wes is saying he hopes United go there is a sign of the times and shows how dominant Man City have been.
I think on United as well, their record against the Big Six this season is poor, isn't it?
It is, but the games are tight. I think that's something that's worth underlining, really, for this. And for Manchester City, I think their pride will be, I think, a little bit touched by what's happened in those last couple of days. I think the idea of them doing anything else rather than going out there and absolutely wanting to tear United to bits, I think is off the table.
You say poor, but I'm looking at it from a defender's point of view. They've conceded 2 goals. I don't think any other teams can say that against the Big Six.
But it's not without winning, though.
Yeah, I know, but obviously the setup is right. He just needs to find a different balance, a more obviously attacking balance there for the players for like Rashford, because on any given day, he can destroy any team.
But is this a game that Bruno Fernandes, you know, if there's any question marks for Bruno Fernandes, because he's been amazing, incredible, but there's question marks over his performances in the big game?
I think it's a little bit unfair, especially if you're judging him over the last little while. I mean, you know, he's played so much since he's been at Manchester United, and there's no doubt that Manchester United would not be where they are today without him. You know, I mean, he's absolutely transformed them. But on the other hand, I mean, Wes was saying, you know, it's about his character. He just wants to play. But he shouldn't be making the decision. That's Solskjaer's call. Yeah. And I'm not saying he should drop out of this, but he definitely should have played less leading up to this. And I'm not sure if he's got enough left in the tank to really pull out the game that Manchester United is.
I'm not as generous. Not because it's Man United, but I'm thinking if you want to be known as the best, you have to perform in the biggest games, and there's no bigger circumstance to him now than there is going to be on the weekend's game. He's going to have to become a time where he has to produce moments of brilliance. It doesn't have to be a man of the match performance, but there has to be moments in these games where you look and think that's why he's regarded as the best, and I don't think we've seen that enough
in the big games.
Yeah, against the big teams, not in the big games, because a lot of games are big games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not always the top 6 teams are the big games, but in terms of the big teams, I don't think I've seen him enough.
One of the key things to Manchester City being 14 points clear at the top of the table, Jolien, is just how good their defence has been. As a former defender that's played in this team, how good is their current defence? It's remarkable.
Again, the defence individually, the partnership, even let's talk about the partnership between Stones and Diaz, is as good as we've seen. I don't think there's been a partnership that looks as comfortable together in 15, 20 games. They look like they've played together for years, and it's a breath of fresh air that I'm seeing defenders enjoying defend. I think that is a noticeable thing. I think Diaz has come in, and it's helped that he's come from a team like Benfica that are used to winning. The pressure's on to win well, and to not necessarily defend for long periods of the game. I think he's come in there and it's a similar scenario, different scale from my point of view, but in regards to having probably only have to defend 20, 30 minutes of the 90, there's different level of concentration you need for that, and he seems suited for it.
Quite often in football, we talk about the need for consistency, Andy, in squads, and having that consistency, particularly in a defence. But with Pep Guardiola throughout the entire team, he can make 11 changes to a team, and you would still say they're just as good as the team that played previously. It's quite remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah, that is true. But I think when it comes to the defence, you do need that consistency if you can have it. I mean, here we can see they've got goals all over the pitch, but the defence does give them the platform for that. And I agree with Jolien. I think Diaz has been an enormous signing who's not just been brilliant himself, but made the players around him better. I mean, John Stones has had his best season at Manchester City, and I think having a solid partner is part of that. But just the threats are absolutely everywhere. And, you know, you look at... It just looks such an enjoyable side to play in. I mean, Ilkay Gundogan looks like he's having the time of his life this season. Yeah,
he does. And even now with De Bruyne back fit, there are some fans who are saying that potentially Gundogan doesn't look as strong, as threatening in front of goal now because back in the side. But because they have this ability to change up their attacking forward players, they look just as strong no matter who he puts in there, right?
Yeah, for me they are. I think you will see less goal impact from Gundogan when there's a striker playing. I think the fact that Jesus is coming to the team and there's a number 9, I think Gundogan benefited the most out of all the players from being able to rotate in there, players a false 9, players an 8 or a 10, and just being able to make runs in behind the defences. And again, it's something we hadn't seen, where when there's a number 9 in there, we expect that player to do that. So that may impact him. But in regards to, like what Andy was saying there about Diaz, I think he's played over 50 games in the last 2 seasons. Man City haven't had a defender that's done that. And that is the key, being able to pick someone or one player that's reliable.
All right, let's get a quick prediction from you both, because it's such a big game. What do you think is going to happen, Andy? Which way?
I'm going to go with Wes. I think United are going to win.
Really?
Do you really?
Wow.
Yeah, I think they'll find a way to sneak something out of the bag.
Wow.
It is probably the most nervous I've been in a build-up, but I still expect City to win. There's no evidence to suggest they won't win and score 2-3 goals.